This video is a conspiracy. We want you to finish these while we finish production on Karma Chakra. Please watch all the anime very carefully.
What's up everyone, hope you all are safe and well. As the creators of Indian anime, we thought we should create a video recommending some anime for you to watch during the stay at home. And while we have tried our best to shortlist from our endless favorites as much as possible, we still ended up adding in too many titles. So here it is, the complete, uncompromised, uncontrollable. Now before we start, let me say that we are not covering Miyazaki/Ghibli or Shinkai titles because of their widespread fame, and it is understood that everyone has watched and loved them. Shinichiro Watanabe, probably the most West-influenced director on this list. His contributions to the medium of anime are some of the most important and innovative. Cowboy Bebop. Well, what can I say about this except it's the show that started it all for me in terms of everything anime can be. On the surface, it's a light-hearted action-adventure about a bunch of bounty hunters in space. But dig deeper and it's an unforgettable, bittersweet saga about camaraderie, betrayal, love, joy, loss, longing, and pretty much everything a real human being experiences in life. And anyone who knows me knows that this is the only show I have ever given a 10 on 10. Not to mention the top-tier soundtrack by none other than legendary composer Yoko Kanno.
What do you get when you mix a red-hot hip-hop track, amazing dance moves, and samurais?
Samurai Champloo, or rather call it Samurai Champloo, is set in the Edo era of Japan, where people are trying to fight for their freedom and expression of creativity and basic human rights. It's not about good fighting evil. This anime has a wacky approach to its music and visuals, mixing in hip-hop and beatboxing, where they implement hip-hop breakdance elements in their combat action sequence is just a sight to behold. And guess who was the chief animator? Kazuto Nakazawa, the same guy who animated Orenishi introduction animated sequence in Kill Bill, and also the music video of Breaking the Habit by Linkin Park.
Space Dandy. Set in space but totally not Bebop 2.0. This is a one-of-a-kind, refreshing and quirky yet heartfelt action adventure.
Shinichiro Watanabe totally took a different approach to this one. This anime is easygoing and fun to watch. You may think that the plot does not seem continuous, but there is a hint of beauty to it. There is that layer of thought right beneath the sheer load of content. Now about the visuals. Every episode has a different take by different artists, which is why every episode looks fresh visually. One of my favorite animators worked on it was Oda, the man known for his elastic animation.
Zankyou No Terror, a show about terrorism but from the terrorist's perspective. Sounds controversial but interesting, right? This action drama has some truly amazing animation, and the story has enough emotional moments as well as interesting riddles to keep you hooked from start to finish. Yoko Kanno comes back on this one, so rest assured that the music is out of this world. If you are hearing about this director for the first time, you probably know his work from the recent Carol and Tuesday or the Blade Runner 2022 short, but we urge you to experience as much of his work as possible.
Satoshi Kon is the director that makes movies about people who are off-screen, on-screen, private, public, or dreaming. He has a way of blurring the lines between what's real and what's not, and hints that just maybe both are one and the same. The most important part is how he manages to pull off editing both time and space, the sheer mastery of editing, making jump cuts, match cuts, or even graphical transition. He is about all that.
Perfect Blue shed some light on the dark alleyways within the Japanese idol industry. The movie, like many other Satoshi Kon movies, blends reality and fiction, or so-called real life, to portray the protagonist's downfall into her despair. It was the second Satoshi Kon movie I watched and one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, I can watch it even now. By the way, Perfect Blue in Japanese would mean perfect happiness, since the color blue symbolizes happiness in Japanese culture.
Paprika. This is another Satoshi Kon movie which will visually make you lose your mind and remain dumbfounded well after the watch. It is a psychedelic roller coaster, and you basically don't need substance abuse to get high when you have something like this to watch. It's weirdly pleasant and disturbing. It's a movie about diving deep into other people's dreams and their twisted aspects. With a hint of mystery and psychological to top it off, Paprika was way ahead of its time.
Millennium Actress. This one is my personal favorite from all his work. It starts off with a couple of guys set to interview an old actress, and as we are shown bits of all her different films and the phases of life she was in while acting in them, the movie starts to blur the lines between her experience, the interviewer's experience, and the viewer's experience of this animated film. It's a sublime tale done in biopic style and a pastiche of a good chunk of Japanese history that must not be missed. This is one director you should watch for sheer originality in the craft of animation filmmaking. Not to mention, a lot of his ideas are said to have been ripped off by Hollywood multiple times. Seriously, just go ahead and watch everything by him, although we wish there could be more, and his passing away in 2010 was a huge loss. May his soul rest in peace. What a legend. Masaaki Yuasa. If you've ever found animation within an anime that breaks from all known art styles and elevates it to a whole new level of motion and expression, you have most likely encountered his work. This is probably my favorite animated movie of all time. Covering a day in the life of a pathetic protagonist who constantly wallows in self-pity and how his life takes a series of absolutely over-the-top and ridiculous turns, this movie is the animated counterpart for Cocaine if there ever was one. Using mixed media and an ever-changing fluid animation style, all of which is perfection by the way, it is highly possible that this story of adventure will pick you up if you're having a bad day and put you in a place of acceleration and joy and leave you short of breath by the end of it.
The Viruma. I've literally lost count of the number of remakes and versions of written and visual media this anime has. Devilman Crybaby is a modern rendition of its past self and yet another amazing series directed by him. It's about the uprising of devils against God, or maybe more than just that, the battle of beliefs, of humanity. The anime, although being full of violence, slaughter and definitely full of adult sequences, is a real tearjerker in the end. People have a love-hate relationship with some of the elements in this one, but they do end up loving it anyway since it's that good. Let's talk about the visuals. They took flat desaturated colored approach to this anime, one without shadows, and for the animation they just went mad. Mad to the point they broke the physical form of the characters, and it just makes the fight sequence all the more amazing.
Eizouken ni te wo dasu na, or Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, is a unique anime that is a tribute to anime itself. If you were curious about what goes on behind the scenes of anime production, you cannot miss this show about 3 misfit kids who start an anime club in their school.
Pong the animation embraces the idea of depicting this game in a very energetic, joyous manner. The simple anime about ping pong using ultra-exaggerated animation, slow motion, split screens and ping pong balls that morph into dragons. This anime just makes a normal match between two people dramatic as hell. The sheer amount of body maneuvering tactics and the logic behind them, it has it all. A must watch. To me personally, Masaaki Yuasa is an underrated genius. He is an extremely talented animator and director. And why I say that is because usually when you watch a movie, you know what to expect. But with this guy, it's totally different. With each project he has worked in, his style and content has changed drastically. He's the kind of animator who is not bound by traditional limitations, and hence he makes things which are hard to describe in simple fashion. He is the example of niche, and hence hard to recommend to people. The things that he makes isn't for everyone, or rather not for everyone to understand.
Yoshitoshi Abe. Not just a director but a character designer who somehow always ends up being a part of some of the most conceptually unique shows out there. One of the best dystopian shows you will ever watch. This one is a slow, drudging look at human cruelty, suffering and cunning selfishness, which can get a tad bit graphic at times.
A rare gem if you actually give this anime a chance. It was directed by Hiroshi Hamazaki and written by Chikai J. Konaka, the man also responsible for serial experiments Lain. All the characters in this anime will give you the creeps and won't feel normal. And when I say that in a good way.
Okay, here goes. This philosophical sci-fi show existed before the internet was a thing and ends up predicting most of the things that happened because of it, and to a shocking degree. Beware, this is one heck of a layered series. In fact, it even names its episodes as layers. Would you believe that? Those title cards are going to stay with you a long time. Just like the rest of this mind-bending masterpiece, which has fans still trying to decipher the true nature of its characters and plot decades after its release.
You know, there was a time when I was a hikikomori. The anime reminds me of my days then. Oh wait, we all are now. This anime revolves around how society as a whole has affected young minds and pressured them into fearing it. It's a journey of self-redemption, a journey of rising above our flaws, which is expressed in the most funny way possible. If you have watched it, then you can definitely call yourself a man of culture.
Niea Under 7, a super laid-back slice of life with a ton of quirky comedy. This lesser-known show is set in a sleepy old town, a setting that can get quite boring at times for the protagonist who runs a bathhouse, until an annoying alien arrives as a freeloader on her already strained and modest life. Good shows within the annoying alien genre are few and far between, and Level E is a side recommendation. We've mentioned just a few, and if you're a fan of the weird but interesting, just go ahead and check out all the projects he's been a part of.
Mamoru Hosoda's movies is what you would call the perfect blend of Ghibli and mature themes. I'm pretty sure if the guy himself heard me say that, he would feel very insulted, because he was once employed by Studio Ghibli but left because they wanted him to be the next Hayao Miyazaki, which, if you have seen any of his movies, he is not.
Boy and the Beast has a really interesting premise where a seemingly orphan boy slips into an isekai world where he is raised by a bear named Kamitatsu. The duality of having connections with both the human world and isekai world results in the dilemma and internal struggle to belong, which is executed brilliantly. Directed by Mamoru Hosoda with a heart-soothing visuals and semi-Ghibli, semi-realistic proportioned characters.
One of Mamoru Hosoda's most famous works, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, talks about, you guessed it, time travel, but with an air of teenage wistfulness.
If you suddenly gained the ability to literally leap through time, what would you use it for? That's the question this movie asks and answers in its own way. The story and art of this movie is quite simple, fluid, and it's a really easy watch. Do brace yourself for the feels though. He has worked in many different kinds of projects like Digimon, One Piece, even Samurai Champloo, before setting out to make his own movies. He is known to take a very different approach in already established genres and not shying away from portraying dark tones using young teens or children as characters.
Again, not mentioning super popular shonen titles that everyone knows about, but if we really had to pick one, we'd say Naruto.
This is the anime which is personally close to my heart and will always remain embedded in my soul. It's not just nostalgia. The way this anime made people relate with the protagonist's struggles and his will to not give up, the pure wholesomeness of growing up with this guy and how he manages to get himself acknowledged by the people that shunned him is what it was all about. Apart from the childish nostalgia, Naruto, for the time when it was released as an anime, had amazing visuals and animation in combat action bits. And most of the action Sakuga animations were done by Norio Matsumoto, which made the experience even more wholesome.
If you don't know Naruto, then how did you stumble upon this video? If you did and still haven't watched Naruto, then go watch it right now. It's where mine and actually a lot of people's love of anime and manga stems from. Watch it!
Okay, it's no secret that I'm not a big action watcher, but if there is just one action show I'd recommend for anybody, this is it. We follow a troupe of mercenaries and a Japanese salaryman who accidentally gets involved with them, but ultimately learns their way of life and proves to be a hell of an asset. If you want your criminals, warmongers and hired guns to feel like real characters who have been through what they have, this is the show for you. Black Lagoon deals with some pretty dark themes from the second season, handling them masterfully, and delves deep into the realities of violence and war, popping in many real-world references as it goes along.
Basically, this anime is One Punch Man superheroes swapped with psychic humans and retains the same level of humor, also dealing with deeper psychological issues. It's written and illustrated by none other than the one, the only one. Apart from that, its anime was made by Studio Bones. It has amazing choreographed combat sequences which are animated with a lot of impact frames, which makes the immersion and experience all the more satisfying, retaining the same amount of energy as they did with OPM Season 1.
Don't try to revive your dead relative. On a lighter note, the show has its funny moments and is an epic saga both story and action-wise. The newer version Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood follows the manga accurately, so I recommend that. Everything about this show is pure gold.
It does. Where do I even start? To watch this series, you need to have an open mind and go through with it from the first season, because this series just gets better and better over the generations. So does the art style, and every season is more fresh, witty and weirder than the last. What's so gripping about this show is its characters and how unique they are in relation to each other. This entire anime is the journey of the Joestar family across generations, fighting evil with a severe shot of humor and feels. Secondly, this anime will make so many music band references that you will either totally love it or just lose it. I assure you there are going to be many hardships, but it's going to be a memorable ride and it will stay with you forever. Your next line will be, stop with the JoJo quote. Stop with the JoJo quote.
This show is an underrated gem. It will make your day brighter and shine a light of epic realization onto your mind. Land of Lustrous follows gems, people made of crystal-like substances, in a war with Lunarians who want to use them as a kettle or a teacup or a plant vase. You get the gist. This show was made using 3D models and CGI mixed with traditional anime style frame-by-frame animation, and it does so beautifully. Unlike Berserk, it's perfect eye candy and a gripping mystery. A 12-year-old wants to get into an agency of perilous nature whose testing is so dangerous only a few out of thousands ever pass it. Seems easy. This anime has some amazing characters. Being mainstream shonen, you would never expect the maturity and development the characters of this anime portray, and the fights are really good.
Hunter x Hunter is one of those shonen shows that isn't exactly about the main character, but about the people around him. It's like watching Naruto but with a different setting. The most interesting part in this anime is the battle system, the utility of Nen and how one uses it, thus resulting in a battle of wits. When you watch this show, you're never going to ask yourself, what was all that for? Rather, you'll be enjoying the journey and experience. Give it a chance and you will love it.
If you see the story of this anime on paper, it might sound very stupid. An old man reincarnated as an evil little girl who then becomes a soldier and leads an army into a world war while still being a little girl. But give this anime your time. As much as the context sounds weird and generic, it's how the authors of this story have executed it that makes this anime my recommendation. The protagonist, Tanya, at first seems to avoid doing things that might mark her as evil. But as the story goes on, you realize why it's called Saga of Tanya the Evil.
GetBackers. You heard that right. This is a story about two guys, one a happy-go-lucky human lead and the other a laid-back illusionist who runs a business where they can get back anything that you have lost for a price, guaranteeing a 100% return rate. It's an action-based slice of life which revolves around their own personal past and their clients. You won't be disappointed. It's a ride down memory lane.
Inuyashiki was written by Hiroya Oku, the maker of Gantz, and it follows similar sci-fi themes as well. But boy is it different in so many ways. As much as Inuyashiki carries a pretty known trope in fiction worldwide, the main characters are more likened to philosophies than human beings. It asks some daring questions. In the face of technology that surpasses anything humanity has ever known, something that can turn a human being into an immortal machine which still harbors everything a human personality has, emotions, thoughts, dreams, etc. Does one still need humanity as a self-concept? The art, as with Gantz, is phenomenal and the action is as well. A great watch. An anime reminiscent of Samurai Champloo's music and Cowboy Bebop's art style, mixed with a good enough storyline and some of my favorite fight scenes. Megalo Box is a tribute to the famous 80s manga Ashita no Jo. This anime reminded me of why I love some 80s anime and the nostalgia hits hard.
It's totally different from Ashita no Jo, although the concept of learning about the new world in Megalo Box through its characters still remains the same like its predecessor.
If you're looking for superior world building and the anime take on the Middle East and the Roman Empire and other empires, Majai is the anime just for you. It has elements of a magical shonen adventure, the vibe of the Arabian Nights, and a very pretty art style. Not to mention a story that captivates you right away.
Naruto and Soul Eater's love child would definitely be this show. Am I allowed to say that? Oh god, here it goes. I'm not even gonna try to explain the Fate universe. It's a maze that if you want to conquer, you can try. Some of the best action choreography I have seen in an anime, and the characters are just out of this world.
Every season is a battle for the Holy Grail, which grants the winner the ability to make any wish, and that will be granted. The participants are called masters who send their combatants or servants into battles as their substitutes. It's more of a battle of perseverance and the things they believe in, which in itself is very twisted because in the end it's no longer a battle of good and evil. Fate being the one anime which everyone has to watch, I'm gonna chronologically make it simple for you. First off with Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night, more focused on Saber, Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, focused on Ring, and finally Fate Stay Night Heaven's Field, focused on Sakura.
I would say start with Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works, since it's one of the most visually appealing and explains a lot of the previous lore in the Fate universe. For those who don't know this song or haven't watched the original, it's fine because the reboot is 100 times better.
Gegege no Kitaro, as the name kind of says, is about Kitaro of the graveyard. This anime deals with different mythical ghosts and beings from Japan and their lore. Beings Kitaro interacts with or even fights against to maintain peace between humankind and ghosts. Even after so many years, the 2018 reboot adapts to the times and made the series more fun, action-filled, and sometimes serious, which keeps the viewers hooked.
Mushishi, an episodic show following the journey of a traveling exorcist across rural Japan. This is probably the most calm, chilled out show about spirits. You can just sit back, zone out, and enjoy the scenic beauty and serene tone of this show. The protagonist and everything he encounters has a certain gravity and groundedness that makes it further convincing, though all of it already feels very natural as it is probably inspired by actual Japanese folktales and myth. If you want a less serious, more fluffy version, Natsume Yujincho is a side recommendation.
If you have ever wanted to watch something really wholesome that will make your kokoro go all doki doki and heavy with kanashimi, then Kyodai, this is the mono for you.
Violet Evergarden is a young girl who lost the only person she could ever call family in a war. After the war is over, Violet starts working as an auto memory doll, a job that requires her to transcribe people's feelings and emotions into letters. Spending her whole life in war and having very little concept of emotions, Violet learns how to feel as she writes letters for other people and tries finding the meaning behind the final words left by her benefactor.
Slice of Life deals with the scope of ordinary everyday life and shouldn't make an exception even if the setting is space. This show is a hidden gem that follows, technically, a bunch of space junk collectors in a far-flung future where space travel is a thing, adding in some action and romance as well. If you're looking for another slice of life drama about or set in space, Space Brothers is a side recommendation. Rakugo, like Manzai, is one of the many traditional forms of Japanese theater entertainment and involves a single person playing out many characters while telling a story, usually of the tongue-in-cheek variety. This is a regular feature in this show, set in the Showa era and animated in the beautiful art style of yaoi artist Haruko Kumota.
The character design is probably one of the best I have ever seen. Classic anime tropes are averted left and right, and the anime plays with character motivations and development like no other. It awakens this feeling that you can't predict what will happen next, but you're glued to the screen nonetheless. 100% recommended.
One thing I love about the premise of many josei shows is that the characters are not in high school and are somehow much more relatable. This coming-of-age show follows the hilarious everyday lives of a few friends attending art college.
What truly can define this anime is bittersweet pain, sorrow, soul-searching, and all for love. The way the characters develop, the relatability, and heartfelt comedy weaves this anime together into a wholesome experience. It is love which binds the characters together, and eventually it's what hurts them. I would suggest you watch this with an open heart and let it hit you.
Barakamon. This series could be called the savior of slice of life in recent times and is a must-watch. A budding calligrapher and city boy ends up burning his boats in the city and has to move to the sticks, adapting to life in the countryside and all the hilarious villagers. The star of the show is, of course, Naru, the adorable troublemaker who always lightens things up and drives the show forward. It is a heartwarming show ultimately about rejuvenation through contact with nature, much like the Pastoral. And if you have already watched it and are looking for more countryside anime, here are a bunch of side recommendations.
Oregairu is the only anime which tackles the theme of antisocial protagonists perfectly with its characters and story. This anime is labeled as romantic comedy. Hell, its name itself says so, but it's just not that. It deals with the harsh views of most of the characters, which make you think more deeply about certain themes and realities, although even after all that, it manages to make you laugh. It's both charming and funny, but at the same time realistic. It will literally provide you the high school setting, but the characters play by their own rules, excluding everyone else from the game. The only thing I have learned from this anime is youth is a lie.
This show is a roller coaster ride, and really, it has a similar fan base as well. You either really like it or you hate it to its core. Kotora-san is about Haruka Kotora, a high school girl who can read minds and gets into a lot of difficult situations due to it. It touches up on a lot of tragic and dark things, but at the same time just slams comedic moments in your face. There is no middle ground for Kotoura-san. It's either straight up dark or silly in your face comedy. I loved it. It's definitely something you should binge since the story makes more sense then. 10 to 10 Harukai's waifu.
If you have ever thought, what if the cells within my body had a personality and how would they act and talk? Then you're in the right place, boyo. It's going to teach you human biology better than your class 10 bio teacher. On another note, must protect platelets.
When it comes to romance, especially BL, it is very easy to fall into popular stereotypes. Given as an anime that masterfully steers through these genres and brings you a heartwarming, realistic portrayal of teenage love, music, and coming to terms with one's sexuality. 100% recommended.
This show has the most misleading title ever. Seishin Buta talks about adolescence syndrome, which causes teenagers to experience abnormalities, physical or mental, as a result of being sensitive to their surroundings. Every few episodes, there is a new character going through something abnormal, while the protagonist's own story proceeds further while he helps those characters out. Now, most of the things these characters go through are supernatural, and there is enough explanation for it as well, but it's not about that. It's the psychological aspect of it. What they are going through is just a quirky and exaggerated setup to make people understand what being a teenager in a school is like. The story writing and the conversation are what makes this anime an absolute win. The characters have this well-grounded depth to them, which makes it easier to relate to them. Cloverworks did a really good job art-wise as well. Give this anime time and it will definitely reward you.
Talking about mature and unconventional harem shows, the only one I'd recommend on the side is White Album, adapted from a visual novel.
Skate Dance can be seen as a high school community service anime where the trio, Bosun, Himiko, and Switch try to help people out with their troubles. Every episode has a fine balance of comedy and feels, a must-watch or even a nostalgic rewatch.
Let's talk about this anime called Sangatsu no Lain, whose other name is March Comes In Like a Lion, and it is a masterpiece of depicting mental health in anime. We follow the life of a teenage shogi player, shogi, Japanese chess, who is suffering from a burnout and depression but also trying to keep up with his demanding profession while making new friends and learning how to be loved. The series stands out for genre bending perfectly and it makes you feel like this is what real life is.
High School of the Elite pits the viewers with a school where students enjoy unlimited freedom. The school functions in a weird ranking system where the classes go from A to D, ranked in order of merit, which actually isn't weird because we ourselves live in a society which thrives on the same concept. Or maybe not call it a concept, but the question, are human beings truly equal?
If you're even a little bit interested in Japanese culture, you definitely know about the painting Great Wave of Kanagawa by the master painter Hokusai. Well then, get ready to learn about his daughter and talented assistant in this movie. Although an extremely skilled painter herself, Miss Hokusai never got the attention she deserved because of working under her father's name. This movie takes you into her life and in the heart of the Edo period in Japan with its simple melancholia and amazing filmmaking.
Hyoka, in short, is a high school mystery series which involves an energy-conserving human being and an overly energetic, curious person and binds them together in an adventure of solving mysteries. It is for those who are into detective fiction and want to sit back and relax over the weekend.
The story of a man who adopts and raises an illegitimate child in the family. The cuteness and the feels hit hard on this one. If this show doesn't stir your nurturing instinct by the end, I don't know what will. Must protect.
If you ever felt responsible for taking care of someone you know, older or younger, you felt like being as much a part of their life and helping them grow, as a person or otherwise, this show will be relatable. This show is exactly what it sounds like. It's about schoolboys babysitting kids. It's really soft, light-hearted, and I would definitely adopt those kids.
If I had to show someone the most wholesome, adorable, kawaii version of Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro, then teasing Takagi-san is it. It's the daily life of Takagi, who loves to tease her classmate Nishitaka, and Nishitaka fails to get back at her.
Nana. This is an adaptation from the very special shoujo mangaka Ai Yazawa, also responsible for Paradise Kiss, another unique show involving fashion design. Nana is essentially a music show about the friendship between two characters who are polar opposites and how their lives unfold during the time they are roommates. Drama and romance are aplenty, and every song is a banger. And it is a sad thing that the manga went on hiatus due to the author's critical health condition. Oh, and those of you who saw Nana Usaki make a cameo in Golden Time, Do yourself a favor and go watch this classic.
I really don't watch many music anime. This one is a lot about the characters than the music, but the music does hold its meanings. The show is about two boys from completely different upbringings brought together by their love of piano. The anime is a bit more rushed than the manga, but it still covers most of the dramatic elements, emotional moments, and epic character development of the show. I would recommend you to watch the Madhouse produced film of the same anime as well, since it has better pacing but overall good show.
One of the best and most West influenced music shows out there, Beck, is a classic and absolute treat to watch.
Beck is relatable because it's a story about a bunch of young folks trying to find themselves, trying to find a place where they belong in this world. Both the protagonists' introduction to music and guitar and the development of relationship within the band are gripping. Animation-wise, this anime has amazing sequences when they play their instruments, and the energy with which the musicians create music, it's there. You can feel it. It's a must-watch, definitely for people who love music.
Shigatsu wa Kimi no Uso is a masterpiece of an anime. It's clearly divided into two halves when it comes to pacing, story, and ambience. The story follows Kosei Arima, an ex-piano prodigy, and Kaori Miyazono, a quirky violinist who wants to get Kosei back to playing piano. It's light-hearted, it's funny, it does have a slight dark foreshadowing and some heavy themes, but it's all fun and games. It doesn't shy away from hitting you hard in the feels. The tone gets heavy, the music rushes, both protagonists start working towards a goal. It just keeps on getting interesting and interesting as the anime rushes towards the climax. Watch this anime, don't miss it. The ending will hit you like the Spanish Inquisition. I'll leave it at that.
Nodame Kantabire, an anime made for young women. It's a tale of an eccentric musical genius, Nodame Megumi, and her love interest Chikai Shinichi, and how they two meet by complete accident and fall in love. This series is full of light-hearted laughter and humor, which you never signed up for. The best part being this isn't a generic high school comedy, but a rom-com straight out of College of Music. And you will lose yourself in the classical scores when listening to the piano and violin. Easily a must-watch.
Frankly, this one is just obligatory. This has been the gateway show for millions who don't even watch anime, leaving them on the edge of their seats. And oh, don't I love realistic Battle of the Wits shows with just a hint of fantasy, especially if it's against a Faustian deal with the devil backdrop. And also, please avoid the Netflix live action at all costs.
Psycho-Pass is based in a dystopian city that catches criminals using the probability factor of them committing a crime. It questions itself and the system it put in place by providing characters who have never committed a crime but have a high probability to do so. It's thrilling, it has the age-old detective-villain rivalry but with a twist in the end. It reminds me a lot of Minority Report and how an ever-present policing system can have bad and long-lasting consequences on the human psyche.
The 1995 movie that started this anime franchise was a breakthrough for cyberpunk anime in every way, just like Akira once was. This is the definitive entry in the philosophical AI versus human genre, and director Mamoru Oshii has a completely different take on the original manga by Masamune Shirow.
For the people who want to start out with Ghost in the Shell but don't know where to even, start by watching the original Ghost in the Shell movie from 1995, which I personally prefer because I like 2D Sakuga animations more than the CGI ones. If you do like CGI, you can try watching the enhanced version, Ghost in the Shell 2.0, which has a newer color palette. And onward to the sequel, Ghost in the Shell Innocence. After this, you can start watching the series Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, which has 2 seasons, and then Ghost in the Shell Solid State Society. There is also a total reboot of Ghost in the Shell called Arise. It's a compilation of the TV movies and adds a prequel for the franchise.
This show is the only mahou shoujo anime that I will ever recommend. And even if all your senses are telling you that this is something you can never watch, your eyes start bleeding from all the moe and the color pink, keep watching it, keep braving on, and this show will reward you with the most layered and thrilling magical girl show ever. Don't miss out on this.
Everyone knows I'm a sucker for slow-moving and intricately written mystery shows, and this one just tops the list in so many ways. Following the misadventures of a doctor who faces the dilemma of having saved a boy who grows up to be a serial killer, this is the journey of a lifetime set across vast areas of Japan. Also, this show follows the manga very closely, which is authored by the legendary Naoki Urasawa, responsible for gems such as Pluto, Billy Bat, Master Keaton, and 20th Century Boys.
Don't think about the obsessive girlfriend. This show is much more than her and its love for its mysterious and bloody plot. So, You know Gasai, huh?
Mirai Nikki is one of the many shows about survival, in which the controller of time and space, Ex Machina, devises a game for the sole purpose of finding his successor. But it's not solely that. There is this certain ominous reason for everyone to compete. Every new reason being more weird than the other, or sometimes not weird at all.
Mirai Nikki is a brilliant mix of a psychological thriller, action, and romance. The characters are excellent, especially Yuno, who is one of the most unique characters I've ever seen in anime. And
If you think Death Note had the best mind games, you clearly haven't read any Shinobu Kaitani manga. A rare anime adaptation of one of his works, One Outs is a baseball show with everything except the actual sport itself. And like most of his other work, features a mastermind protagonist who can put the rest of humanity to shame through his brilliant calculations and strategies. Don't miss this one.
A masterpiece of psychological horror, Jigoku Shoujo is a classic favorite since the days of Animax India. Don't remind me. It does not employ your regular jump scares and ghosts and whatnot, but uses the dark corners of the human mind as the source of deep-seated fear. Coupled with haunting music and beautiful character designs, it's a must-watch if you like to torture yourself.
Technically a rotomation work, this slow burn and angst-ridden dark romance is adapted from a manga by none other than Oshimi Shuzo.
This anime wants to hurt you. It stabs you in the gut with this uneasiness and slowly twists it as you watch characters slowly descend into their own ruin and out of their own control. It is not for everyone. No wonder it didn't get a season 2. But if you want to hurt yourself and you really want like a worthwhile watch, it's highly recommended that you watch Akuna Hana.
Rainbow, the opening of this show is enough to get you hooked. It's set in post-World War Japan, where 6 teenagers end up in Shonan Special Reform School for being arrested on serious criminal charges. In their cell, they meet an older inmate with whom they form a special bond. It's more than just about surviving their sentences. The anime will teach you more about friendship, brotherhood, love, morality, humanity, and selflessness in the most tear-jerking way possible. Man, I'm not gonna lie, I cried like a baby watching this anime. It's a gem most people will miss out on, so don't miss it.
Perhaps my most favorite anime of all time is Steins Gate. It was released in 2009 and was directed by Hiroshi Yamasaki and Takuya Sato. It does an amazing job of combining genres like sci-fi, psychological thriller, drama, and mystery, and it sucks you into its incredibly detailed world. Perhaps a bit of a spoiler, but this show has one of the most refreshing yet hard-hitting takes on time travel and how it would work in a very flawed world like ours.
Steins Gate was originally a visual novel, so yes, you guessed it right. Yet another Fate-like series where you didn't know where to start. Instead, take this route. Watch season 1 from episode 1 to 22, but don't watch 23rd, 24th, 25th. Instead, watch Steins Gate 23 Beta, which is the missing link. Then watch all the episodes of Steins Gate 0, which is basically season 2. And finally watch 23rd, 24th and 25th episode of Steins Gate season 1.
Amongst other titles from the same creators, all punctuated with a semicolon, Occultic 9 would be a side recommendation.
what is the first thing you would do if you got the power to control anybody just by looking at them? Yeah.
Code Geass is that show that seems like it wants to sell you mecha action and supernatural elements, but in reality it's exactly opposite. It dives deep into the protagonist's mind, his will to do anything to take revenge on the person who murdered his mother and left him and his sister all alone, who is no other than his own father. At first it may seem like he is the hero, but as the series progresses, the protagonist loses himself. The despair engulfs him.
There is one character in particular from this anime that got really famous. But don't let yourself be blinded by the maid fan service. This show is as dark and dramatic as it gets, and a lot of times all you would feel is pity for the main character while he stumbles from one checkpoint to another.
If I had to compare this anime with something, I would compare it with Dark Souls the game. Normally, it may seem like your generic isekai story where you end up in a different world, but it's not. The main character doesn't have any powers except only to get back to a previous checkpoint after he dies. Watching it feels like losing your mind because of losing your humanity again and again. All the characters are as brave as can be. It's not your average isekai, it's better and has more depth. Even more so when you realize you don't truly understand this world, just like Dark Souls. Higurashi can be summed up as a sick game of testing humans like guinea pigs using fate itself, a sick game of survival which nobody signed up for. At first it may seem like it's some weird harem, but oh boy, you're in for a punch in the gut. Not just once, but multiple times. Each time worse than the previous, but in a good way of course. And Naza, the one horror anime that isn't exactly horror, rather just makes the viewers more curious and makes them want to know the depth of it. The story focuses on a boy named Koichi, who upon transferring into Yoyama Middle School and meeting the curious Mei Misaki, finds himself in a mystery revolving around students and people related to his class falling victims to gruesome, senseless deaths. It's not your average Final Destination movie. It's more of a mystery than a horror anime.
I can't say much about this series without spoiling it, but I will say this. As predictable as you will probably think it is, the ending will throw you for a loop. And it's the type of show that only makes sense if you watch the complete thing, so go for it.
For any lover of action adventures, this series is an absolute must. Set in a world strongly reminiscent of Brazil, it is an epic journey of a child and her gangster mom who are always on the run and lead a nomadic lifestyle. If you want a no-nonsense show that does it amazingly right with both the action sequences and the emotional moments, and are longing for the freedom of the road movie, you have found the show you want.
Neon Genesis Evangelion is an all-time classic written and helmed by Hideaki Anno. It's a deconstruction of the mecha genre and takes on some really dark tones. Deconstruction is exactly what it sounds like. It brings in similar characters with similar settings to a specific genre and then shows their true colors and how they would actually react to a real-life scenario. What would otherwise be a mecha harem show ends up talking about the characters facing absolute despair in the face of the world ending. It's set in a dystopian world being attacked by the angels, huge aliens who want to destroy Earth, and the only thing that can save the world are one-dimensional teenage kids driving mecha robots called Evas.
The Neon Genesis Evangelion series is still happening. The creator himself has gone through a lot. A man who poured most of his life into making a point of himself understanding this anime truly. I advise viewers to dive deep into the psyche of the individual characters and put themselves in their shoes, and only then can one truly even begin to understand this gem. Apart from that, this anime, although losing budget towards the end, makes sure that it delivers its point through its wacky psychedelic trip-like visuals. A deep dive into one's persona. Don't miss this.
Death Parade. This series is an expansion of the 2012 Death Billiards short film, which was yet another refreshing title to arise from Anime Mirai, or the Young Animator Training Project, and has a unique premise.
Come on, let's party! By now, everyone who has already watched this anime knows how amazing the opening is. The anime basically emphasizes the world after death, a bar which you step inside after dying, and in there you will be judged by the bar master testing your morality through simple games like air hockey, bowling, etc. Simple in it, but there lies the catch. It's not, and it's best to witness this gem with your own eyes.
Forgive me for not being a fan of high fantasy, but I am a fan of fantasy when done right. And for me personally, there cannot be a better example than this one. The basic premise involves a band of wolves that also acquire human form and their journey to find so-called paradise. The action, adventure, intrigue, and sheer beauty of this show are all heightened by Yoko Kanno's brilliant music. Oldie but goldie. You might know Studio Rika, aka Yasuhiro Yoshiura, from the Noitamina block animation. The visual style is easy to identify as his work, which is always quirky yet very sophisticated pieces of science fiction. And this one is no exception. Originally released as a set of OVAs, Time of Eve was compiled into a movie later, which you can watch without missing anything. If you want a lean cut of sci-fi and fantasy with the pace and realism of slice of life, look no further and just dive into all of his works. This was a milestone back in the day, and one of those titles that led to more and more light novels beginning to be adapted. Its unique and weird blend of horror and mystery, and the way it tells its story, set the example for light novels for years to come. If you feel you are ready enough for this one, go for the original, not the 2019 movie.
Usually anime is made from the perspective of the protagonist or the person nearest to the protagonist. However, if you ever wondered what a show would look like if it was made from the perspective of all of its characters, then this show is for you.
A stunning work of magic realism and one of the best character-driven plots featuring an ensemble cast. Durarara is written by the genius Ryogo Narita, author of Bakano, but we like this one better.
Monogatari series is nothing short of a masterpiece. Although it's not for everyone, and you need to have a philosophical mindset to watch this series. Otherwise, everything will just go over your head and you wouldn't even understand what hit you. To sum up, it's a series about human relationships and interactions, but with supernatural elements. Just a reminder, most of the story is just a bombardment of dialogues and the rest is beautiful looking stills and animations. Hold it right there. You don't even know where to start. It's dangerous to go in that maze alone. Let me be your guide. What's the anime in this sequence? Bake Monogatari, Izu Monogatari, Ise Monogatari, Neko Monogatari Kuro, Monogatari Series Season 6, Hana Monogatari, Suki Monogatari, Owari Monogatari, Uzo Monogatari. Watch it again to clear up plot points and characters. Koyo Monogatari, Owari Monogatari Second Season, Zoku Owari Monogatari. Additional note, this anime will make you feel inadequate as a human being.
This is a show about afterlife. All the characters in this show are dead and don't remember much about themselves about when they were alive, except their names. This show will keep you guessing what it really is about, switching constantly from action to comedy to tragic tones. It will tug at your heartstrings, make you feel things that you never thought you could feel, take you on a comedic ride and then suddenly slam the fact that all the characters of this show are dead in your face. It's not just about being a simple tearjerker. It has a lot of things to teach its viewers about life and a lot of things to make them feel. A must watch for everyone who is trying to find meaning in life and how much a person can mean for another person.
Spice and Wolf on first glance may seem like a weird lolly fan service kind of anime, but it's not. It's an anime set in medieval times. Hold it right there. You're thinking about gore and action, but well, you're wrong yet again. It's about a merchant trader of sorts named Lauren Craft, who befriends this god who wants to go home. It's a wholesome adventure of the two with elements of trading that people would normally find boring but done in a funny and interesting way. It's amazing how the characters aren't one-dimensional and carry depth, hence a must-watch.
This is a comical gem from start to finish, except for episode 3. Sakamoto is basically the Japanese high schooler version of Rajnikant. He is never outdone, outsmarted, outshined, or outclassed. And this, for the most part, creates opportunity for all the show's gags. This show is essentially so bad it's good, but in a hilarious and satisfying way.
Daily life of high school boys. The name itself is so ironic that it's ridiculous to call it that.
Prepare yourself for major hijinks when it comes to these 3 high school dudes. A show that breaks the fourth wall regularly and throws in over-the-top visual puns repeatedly. The deadpan dialogue deliveries will have you in splits, and the sheer amount of content packed into each episode will spoil you, so definitely give this one a watch. And if you want to experience the OG high school comedy, then do check out the ridiculous Cromarty as our side recommendation.
If I were to sum this anime up, I would say if you were ever a part of the Japanese mafia and you messed up really bad, please choose an honorable death over your boss's sick plan to get you a exchange operation and make an idol out of you.
Apart from the hilarious premise itself, it's the execution that shines. Almost every expression and gag will make you spit out your drink, and this show is great for what it is. This is an overlooked masterpiece where a totally self-important businessman falls into a river and a homeless girl saves his life. However, the catch is he must be her boyfriend in order to pay her back. Every moment of this show is hilarious, and should you choose to look past the gags and the nonsensical stuff, this show will reward you with a hidden satire on society and capitalism. What a treat to watch.
Detroit to Mitaru City. I'm having second thoughts about even calling it a music anime, so I would rather call it a black comedy anime. The story revolves around Soichi Negeshi, who dreams about being a pop musician and singer. By cruel fate, he ends up being the guitarist and lead singer of a blackened death metal band called Detroit Metal City. Soichi detests death metal, but most often dreams don't pay bills. You'll probably laugh until your stomach hurts, or maybe headbang until your head hurts. At this point, I don't know the difference anymore.
Who knew hell was this interesting and this mundane and trivial for the people who run it? Cool-headed Huzuki is the most feared and also the most efficient demon, with the responsibility of overseeing and managing all the departments of Japanese hell. The unique visual style and dry humor make this one of the rare and flawless comedy series, which I warn you, might not be for everyone. But it is worth taking a look at, if even for one episode where Satan himself pays a visit from Judeo-Christian hell to Japanese hell and is pleasantly or unpleasantly surprised.
This anime is the rarely occurring short comedy masterpiece. And why is that? Because these are actual life events that happen with the author, Honda, who used to be a bookstore employee, and his fellow co-workers. 12 episodes that are 10 minutes each can be binged in just a day. Dear Lord, it will give you the best laugh you've ever needed to get through the day.
For a slice of life lover like myself, Saint Young Men is an absolute joy to watch. The show is based on the manga series by Hikaru Nakamura and was adapted into an anime in 2013. It's a great pick if you want to kick back with an easygoing anime with a comforting and fun vibe.
Oh man, this show is a treat. It's the holy grail for humanity. I'm not even kidding. Go watch it.
Asobi Asobase is an anime you need to watch if comedy is your favorite genre. It doesn't have a plot as such, it's just a riot of absurd slapstick comedy that will definitely make you ask what is going on while you're also rolling around laughing.
Why is this anime? How is this anime? What is this anime? Geez, this anime is basically a kick on the butt of Japanese society norms and censorship laws. It handles the concept very well without going south, keeping it hilariously weird and
Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun is also called Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. It's an amazing pick for high school comedy. This anime calls back to Eizouken, but this time it's about making of manga. Though it doesn't go into much detail about the exact workflow as such, it has brilliant, engaging characters and very refreshing humor to keep you giggling throughout.
Grand Brew. Imagine starting college life with a bunch of folks who can only get drunk and strip randomly, all with a straight face, that you have no business being with and who constantly get you into miserable situations which you in fact are partly responsible for. Well my dude, it's that anime, and it also gives you an extra diving underwater experience as a DLC. Hinamatsuri is an anime about a badass Yakuza kyodai who meets a weird alien girl and they end up being a family. Their journey from there is one of self-discovery. Quite weird if I may say so, but it's humorous and will actually make you laugh out loud.
This 2018 anime talks about friendship, responsibilities, and family. Everything in a hilarious package. You can't help but feel warm inside while also laughing your butt off.
If I had to explain this anime, then I would get diabetes. Cause it's that kind of cutesy love comedy. A gigantic, strong and scary looking guy, Goda, he seems rather normal. Is it wrong to think like that? Who develops feeling for this angel of a girl, Yamato? Why don't girls like that exist in the real world? But has a misconception that she likes his best friend, Sunakawa, who is rather handsome looking. Which he is. This show is the younger and less impressive brother of Angel Densetsu, but it holds pretty well on its own.
The first episode for Osomatsu-san, if nothing else, is a must-watch because of the sheer amount of anime tropes it rips off on and feels like something straight out of Gintama.
Osomatsu-san is not for everyone. It has nudity, gore, and profanity from time to time. From what is represented visually, it may seem like it's a full-on gag comedy. However, it may take a dark tone at times. The main theme revolves around the sextuplets wanting to stop just being neats and get laid. Throughout the anime, we find them trying to get a girlfriend and job, which leads them to their ridiculous misadventures. Not recommended for kids under 16.
Other honorable mentions for the comedy category are Chio-chan and Saiki. This long-running show and Jump manga is the absolute benchmark for the action comedy genre for decades now, and rips off on every anime title out there, sometimes giving even seasoned otaku a run for their money with its references.
Gintama is the kind of anime that lures you in with the deception that it is funny. Don't get me wrong, it is, but Gintama is so more than just parody or the funniest anime in the world. There are moments when you will find yourself crying like a baby, and in the next moment you will be on the edge of your seat as Gintoki fights with some of his most fearsome foes. Words cannot explain what Gintama is. Gintama is a feeling.
What happens when the great Dark Lord of the demon world has to abandon his realm and work part-time at a fast food joint just to barely get by in the human world, where none of his magical powers are working?
And what if the hero of the isekai world also landed up in the human realm? Well, this is going to be the show which will make you laugh your heart out, spicing it up with a hint of action and romance.
If there was something called a reverse isekai, this show would be it.
While I actively avoid shows with vampires, this one is just too good to pass up. In the same vein as Devil is a part-timer, this time our powerful demon ruler is an otaku who is iffy around girls from the human world and really not interested in being a vampire. When he finally does get attached to a human girl who has recently died, he teams up with her ghost, a magician and a half werewolf and goes on a quest for human resurrection. Sound crazy yet? Believe me, this is one action comedy you cannot pass up.
Noragami starts off with a very weird premise and never before seen type action sequences. With gods and demons placed in modern settings, you would not expect a deep and really amazing plot from something as comedic and light-hearted as Noragami. But that's exactly what it gives you. Also, Bones did an absolute amazing job at animating this show. The gorgeous backgrounds, gripping action sequences, and accurate color schemes are just absolute plus to the refreshing storyline.
Am I looking through the rose-tinted glasses of nostalgia at an old ecchi comedy that no one wants to hear about? While it is true that this one may not have aged well, and that a lot of happenings in this show are genuinely tacky and lowbrow, all of it is hilarious and just super entertaining to watch. Enjoy this show with a cold beer and an urge to turn off your thinking switch.
Great teacher Iizuka. Man, this anime is proper old, yet it still holds its ground as a slice of life action comedy. Just imagine having a former biker gang leader as your teacher. Sounds really scary, right? What if the class he was teaching was even scarier, trying every method possible to kick his ass out of school? But oh well, he isn't called the great teacher just for show. You'll see this guy handle the worst of delinquents with ease. If you want a good comedic and chill show, this is the kind of show to watch.
A devil of a baby gets attached to a delinquent high schooler, and that's what this show is.
The protagonist Tatsumi Oga is called the child-rearing badass, and not for show, this anime is yet another goldmine of an action comedy done right. The right amount of parental love, the right amount of cuteness, and the right amount of bizarre delinquent brawling action. And oh, I almost forgot, a hint of demonic wars.
Konosuba is an isekai, but all the characters are broke and unlucky. It has some really unique and amazing characters. Each character portrays one trope of isekai and then twists it into the complete opposite. Megumin is the overpowered lolly, but she can only use magic once. Sato is the smart main guy, but he's very weak. Aqua is the all-revered goddess, but she's useless. And so on. It's how these characters come together and survive the harsh world, stumbling around from one challenge to another while the show keeps throwing comedic punches, is what makes this show a perfect weekend binge watch.
If there was an isekai that just bombards you with twisted but comedic depression and just makes you feel bad for the characters but you will still shamelessly laugh at them, then this is going to be your jam.
This show takes every mainstream shonen show ever made and parodies the heck out of it. The fights are funny, the main guy, although super strong, is clueless about life. Saitama wants to be a hero just for fun. The funniest part of this show is how it makes a point of cutting short the villain's monologues, just using that as an anchor to say that most of the antagonist's backstories and motives don't have any meaning plot-wise in most shonen animes. They are just shallow puppets introduced as the current big baddie for the main guy to conquer and use to grow as a character.
If I comment about this anime, then I'll be punched out of existence because there's nothing more to talk about other than the amazing quality of animation in the first season. Madhouse Studio got this anime just right. What if there was a Japanese James Bond but extremely perverted? Not much of a lady killer, but has a heart of gold. This is it. That 180 show which is a gold mine of feels. It doesn't have too much action, but when it needs to, it does it properly and with style. The opening and ending songs are going to take you to a whole other level of 80s nostalgia. A show which still retains its charm even to this day. The art style in this anime is just amazing, and all I can say is, it's different, a must watch.
Now that's it for the list. From this season, we would recommend Wave Listen to Me, adapted from a manga by the amazing mangaka Hiroaki Samura, who is also responsible for Blade of the Immortal, which got a fresh adaptation recently as well. Fugo Keiji Balance Unlimited. Seems like this show will be an absolute blast to watch. Arte, an anime that probably needed to be adapted from the manga for a very long time. Takushigoto. Looks to be a really fun show. Some more would be The Great Pretender, Hello World, and BNA. Here are some more titles from the last season which are worth trying and you might have missed. Pet, ID Invaded, Kabukicho Sherlock, and Babylon. If you have made it till here, you are godly. We would love to know in the comments how many of these you have watched and which ones you have loved the most. Please watch the first 20 minutes of our upcoming movie Karma Chakra and our trailer. Please subscribe to our channel if you like our content and follow us on our social profiles. Link in description for more frequent updates on the movie and the studio. See you next time. Sayonara.